dowry, plunder, all these names. I can't, you know, Micah is not as easy to unravel as some of the others. Chapter 2. Woe to those who plot evil, who lie in bed planning mischief. And more about economic crimes here, seizing fields and things like that. So more about social justice here. They take over houses, they confiscate things and so on, but not as elegantly put as like Amos, or even not so much as Hosanna. Okay, line 6. You people, if any of you are interested in the Dead Sea Scrolls, would probably recognize this. Do not rave, and so on. This is quoted in the Damascus document. In other words, it's not rave. What do you have? It's spout. It actually says spout. What do you have in your translation? Huh?
Dribble.
Speak out.
Dribble, spout, yeah. Because the enemy in the Dead Sea Scrolls of the righteous teacher is the spouter of lying. So they apply this passage to him, that he's a spouter, meaning he spouts out lying visions and different things, and they combine it with some material in Ezekiel. They like to take things and combine them in order to describe the present situation that they're in. This is one of the passages that they take. I don't have the original Hebrew in front of me, but this is one of the passages that they're very interested in. Okay, so the question is asked, is Jacob going to be accursed? Has the Lord lost patience? Are they not still his people? And here it speaks of line 8. It is you who play the enemy to my people. The enemy terminology is another important thing in the Dead Sea Scrolls and early Christianity. If you know the Matthew Gospel, the parable of the tares, it's not in the other Gospels. The good tares are sown, and then another person comes and pulls up the good tares and plants tares rather. And this is an enemy came and did this. And then the conclusion is the end of time, the tares will be taken up and thrown into a furnace of fire. It's only in Matthew. These are the only pro-Judaistic parables in the New Testament. For somehow they snuck in there. All the others are anti. And I think that came from the other group. Somehow it bled in there. But in the opposition Christianity of this period, what's called Jewish Christianity, what we call Ebionites, and things like that, things that are not really known about in the Western world to that extent, but anyone who studies Middle East history knows about it. These groups felt Paul was the enemy, that he was the enemy, and they took and they labeled him the enemy, and it may have come from that. Here, this passage about the enemy. There's a passage in the letter of James that he who makes himself a friend of man turns himself into an enemy of God. It's James 4:4. And it seems that that's being directed against someone who can't control his tongue. That is a spouter of lying, who can't control his tongue. So it looks like there's some of the same imagery has crept into the letter of James. Then on the other hand, Paul turns it all around again. In Thessalonians 2:15, he says that the Jews, by doing such things, have turned themselves into the enemies of the whole human race. So they're playing with this enemy terminology, is what I'm trying to show you. With a lot of documents, as you've been following some of my things, I marshal this stuff. And this may be one of the sources of it right here, because certainly the previous verse is a source of material in the Damascus document. You say, well, so what? Well, nothing, because I can't see a lot of here to comment on other than that. You know, the rest is, you can make as much of it as I can. And it's a worthless thing, line 10. Do you have that? It's a worthless thing, that is that what you have in line 10?
For a worthless thing you exact.
Yeah, okay. Were there a man of, what do you, because I don't like my translation here, what do you have there in line 11?
If a man of the Spirit came and invented his life.
Yeah, you see, a man, and the Damascus document continues, someone walking in the Spirit who is spouting lies. And you see, Paul is always talking about the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, you see. So they pull out things like that to attack. I don't say it's attacking Paul, but it's attacking a Pauline-like adversary, using old text to do it. And lying is their key adjective that they apply to such a person. Anyway, we'll leave that go. But that's chapter 2 of Micah is very important to the people in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I haven't even made enough of it in my book. I should rewrite some pages, but I'm going to. In fact, everything I have in that book, Linda, you might realize, it's actually comes from teaching these classes. It's reading this stuff over and over again that you get to understand these things. Okay, what else do we have here? Chapter 3. If you see something you want to ask about, please do. Princes of the house of Jacob, rulers of the house of Israel. Those are synonyms. And then now, against prophets, line 5. You lead the people astray. Leading the people astray is a huge phraseology in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that the liar leads the people astray. But here they make it even more clearly what's being, what the straying is. They cry peace, and Ezekiel picks that up. I don't have the passage yet, but in Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel 12 or something, the lying prophets cry peace when there is no peace. I applied that to the Carter mission, crying peace when there is no peace. But in any case, darkness on these diviners or prophets, whatever. The sun will set on them, the seers will be covered in shame, and so on. An attack on visionaries and other people who are prophesying lies. But not me, he says, line 8. I am full of strength. What do you guys have for line 8? Yeah. And spirit or breath, spirit and breath in the Hebrew is the same thing. You breathe, and it's also the spirit of justice and courage. Is that what you have there? I don't trust my translation here. What do you have?
Justice and light.
What do you have?
Light and energy.
I have to look at the Hebrew. I didn't bring it. I apologize. I just don't trust some of these translations. This one is from the École Biblique in Jerusalem. The people who hid all the scrolls, they did this translation, and they live off it actually. Without this book, they'd be poor as church mice, and I support them. That green Bible too is one that they did.